you could just introduce yourself and all your background, not all of it, but
That could take a while. I'm Kristan Cockerill, and I'm a professor in interdisciplinary studies in the Department of Cultural, Gender, and Global Studies, and I'm a water policy analyst by training.
why did you switch from going out in the field as much to becoming a professor? You used to do just as much.
I'm sorry, what do you mean by going in the field?
Or going out in all the extensive research in hydrology to becoming, like, just stopping, not you didn't stop, but you came to teach as well.
Oh, right, so
Yeah,
that's
so
part of
after
being a
that.
professor, right? So actually
Yeah.
all of that research has been done while I was a professor. That's part of being a professor,
That's good.
is doing the research. So I've actually spent more time from a hydrologic standpoint, we talk about being in the field, being out in the stream, collecting things. I've actually done that more since I became a professor than I did when I wasn't a professor.
It's better to teach people too. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I know you focus more on water policy and management, so I don't know if these first couple questions will be as relevant, but
Right.
Considering the ways of water purification through natural and man-made inventions, are there any cleansing techniques you prefer over others? And if so, and why?
Okay, so yeah, this is one of those where I know nothing about water purification.
Right.
So yeah, I know that there are multiple ways that public treatment plants treat water, but that's not my specialty. So,
Okay. It's okay. If you've ever found yourself in a situation needing water, can you explain that situation, what you did to obtain it? So, like, if you were hiking or camping and you ran out.
okay, I wondered about that. It's like, because we all need water every day.
Yeah, just like tracking it, know where to go to find it.
Okay. I've been on hikes where I probably should have taken more water than I did, but have I ever been close to dying from dehydration? No. Partially because I'm always really prepared, and partially because if you live in the East, there's just so much water. You can find it anywhere. It's a much bigger issue if you live in the desert, which is where I lived for a long time. So.
If you had found yourself in one of those situations, though, and you found like a stream of water, or not a stream, more like stagnant water, what would you be worrying about disease-wise? Like, what are the most common diseases?
It depended on where I was.
In the forestry region.
So in New Mexico, my biggest concern probably would have been some of there's a lot of natural arsenic in the water, but in the short term that's really not a big deal. If I'm in a more urbanized area, my biggest concern frankly is going to be E. coli from dogs or birds.
Or cows, maybe.
Cows, if you're in an agricultural area.
Mm-hmm.
And anywhere in the U.S. anymore, Giardia. Most water has Giardia in it, but again, it depends on your situation, right? If I'm desperate for water, Giardia is not going to kill you. It'll make you sick, but it's not going to kill you. So drink it.
It's fine, guys.
The not having water will kill you sooner than the Giardia. So.
Are there ways you can tell what's better, for, like in one sense than the other? Like.
Well, you can never tell if there's microbial issues because you can't. I guess if you carry around a microscope with you. You don't, frankly, water that is super crystal clear and has no signs of plant or bug life is not good water to drink, because that usually means that something can't live in it. So you should never, if you're in a non-urban setting where where you're just out hiking somewhere, a clean, crystal clear pool of water is something you should actually avoid. It often means there's high sulfur content, high arsenic content, and it's killed everything.
So even from springs, would there still be bugs
Yeah,
and
sure.
plants around?
Oh, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the best way to tell if you've got a healthy water ecosystem, is if there are lots of bugs and algae and stuff in the water.
I didn't know that. I don't find that.
Yeah, the more stuff in the water often is better for the water.
So, you should still, I don't know what I'm trying to say. So, you can't tell just based off assumption if it's not good to drink. Like, if it's clear and there's no bugs, that's bad. If it's really murky and dirty and algae, you should still probably boil it. So, you basically do the same things no matter what.
Well, so if it's crystal clear, yeah, I wouldn't drink it because it probably means that the boiling, whatever's in there, boiling's not going to fix.
No kidding.
And yeah, yeah, so no, if it's dirty, then frankly, depending on where I am, I would just drink it. Again, it depends on your situation, right? Am I desperate for water, or am I just out backpacking and looking for that day's water, and I have a filter with me? I mean, depends on my situation.
Yeah.
If I'm desperate for water and I find a puddle that's full of mosquito larvae and
Go for
muck,
it.
I'm going to drink it. Because
I
probably
would
the
too.
worst thing that's going to happen is I'm going to get diarrhea.
And you can solve that later when you're better and
Exactly.
not dead from dehydration.
Exactly.
You said you did live in the desert area for a while, and over there water's pretty hard to come by or scarce. So how would you say water scarcity and shortage can lead to worsened poverty?
That's not that question, and I'll be honest, I don't know. All of my work is in the U.S., and so it's just not an issue. We don't have that issue here. And so I think it's a feedback loop, right? So sometimes poor people live in places that lack resources because they can't afford to live in a place that has good resources, and so you get a feedback loop there. Lack of water itself can lead to poverty because you can't stay as clean, or you're not getting enough water, which can have developmental issues for pregnant women, which can have, right, you're not going to be as healthy, which means maybe you can't go to work every day because you're sick, and so those kinds of things. That's not something it's not something I study. So.
Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay.
Let's skip to the next one. So I said, in the United States, 44% of rivers, which are freshwater sources, are too polluted for swimming, drinking, or fishing. Why aren't there more facilities to desalinate seawater or draw fresh water from the ground as a solution to these losses?
First of all, those aren't solutions, and depending on where you are, those are both really, really bad ideas.
I'd like to know why, because those sounded, when I researched those, I was like, wow, that's mind-blowing, that'd fix all the problems, but I guess I'm not right.
No. So first of all, there are thousands of desal facilities. I mean, some places that is where people get the bulk of their water is from a desal plant. But there are no solutions to water management problems. People have to manage water, always. You can't ever say, oh, we fixed it, we're done, we can walk away, we don't have to think about it anymore. Because anytime you do something, so you open a desal plant because your rivers are too polluted or there's not enough water there, so you desal, well, you have a huge energy cost there. The desal plants are energy intensive, they're energy hogs. And the number one use of water in the United States is to produce energy. So you've got this feedback loop of we're using more energy to get clean water, but energy requires a lot of clean water to function, so you get this feedback loop. You also end up then with a lot of salt that you have to figure out what to do with. You have a waste product.
And then that ruins ecosystems.
And depending on where you put it, it has issues. The intake for a desal plant can be hard on local ecosystems. You always have issues. Same thing with groundwater withdrawal, right? Groundwater and surface water are connected. So if you have a river and you start pumping from here, that's going to have